Welcome to Behind the Play, a video and podcast product of the Hoops crew that explores the lives of Geelong players past and present, as well as the off-field figures that are keeping us Geelong strong. My name is Paul James, and today I don't have someone who's necessarily involved directly with the Geelong Football Club, but I'm sure he's going to be doing lots of things over the course of the next few months. It's going to please a lot of the community. Barra, welcome to the show, mate.
Thank you for having me, Paul. It's good to be here on your home turf, the podcast land.
Yeah, we've been chatting back and forth a little bit over the course of the last, 6 to 8 months or so. People have seen a few different videos across the Hoops YouTube channel relating to a game you're working on, Footy Bash.
Yes.
So it's good to have you on board.
Oh, it's good to be here. Yeah, my name is Mark. People call me Barra. Work for a game company called Danger Thumbs, and we're making a game called Footy Bash. And you've played it, so
I played it, and it's all shaping up really, really well. It's been good to kind of be able to talk about it across, and I guess giving that peek behind the curtain for everyone watching and listening to be kind of in the video game space and also the footy space. Firstly, I think puts me in a fairly unique spot when it comes to coverage that I can kind of speak to, I guess, the two groups that you want to address, but also kind of gives me two really cool lenses to look at through. It's been an awesome time, and lots of cool opportunities to chat with you guys and to check out the game and talk about the game. It's been awesome, mate.
And we haven't been into development for too long, so you've basically been along for the ride mostly the entire time.
So there's at some point I'll claim a finder's fee, but we'll get to that later on. that's dollars and cents that we'll do off camera. No, it's awesome to have you aboard, mate. We were talking just before the recording. You're a West Coast fan.
I am indeed.
Now it's been a challenging period, but as we record, and we were going to record this last week, and I guess peek behind the curtain, that was round 4 at the time. It's now just post the round 5 win that you had.
It's a completely different conversation this week. That's for sure.
Firstly, you can talk because last week your voice was shot, if I recall, and you weren't able to. But you've also seen the Eagles bank their first win for the year. That's
correct. Yeah, no, tiny children, the tiny little vectors. I was very sick last week, so thanks for having me back on. And yes, different conversation this week. We are now full of hope, and we believe in the young people that we have in our team now, which is great.
We've been hearing all these sort of, flag pies and flag mantle and all these sorts of things. Like, what's the West Coast title that we're going to be rocking now as they make their charge towards the top 8 and premiership success in 2024?
Oh, if they keep winning, it's just a young team who's found their confidence, and if they don't, then it's a team that's in their process of changing leadership. So it depends where we're at.
it's all PR spin, right? So we'll just see how things play out. And look, as we record this, they're going into a match against the crosstown rival, so we'll have to see how things play out. As we were saying beforehand, Freo gives every team a chance because they don't seem to want to score too much themselves. So if you guys can get on a bit of a run, who knows what's possible?
Well, we were that team, I think, 2 rounds ago, so it'll be a very interesting game at least.
Yeah, but I'd say the scores have been been struggling for the Eagles, not through a lack of trying, just the depth and the talent and the leadership and all those sorts of things. But
that's right.
With Harley Reid leading the way, who knows what's possible?
Oh, the big lad, the big 18-year-old is doing some amazing things. Stoked to have him on board, and he's just great footy to watch. And seeing everyone.
Myself, Ben, and some of the others with the Hoops crew have been talking about the fact that he was a Geelong supporter growing up. So we're just in advance. Thanks for sending him back over to us for peanuts in a trade in a couple of years from now.
We'll hold on for a little while. We'll make sure he's good, and then he'll probably want to stay. So that's fine.
we'll lure him home at some point. We'll see how we go. But anyway, for you, I guess, where does footy first come into the life? Was it there from day dot? Was it, I guess, were there certain members of the family that introduced you, that drove you to games? How was it the Eagles that you went on to support? How did things kind of begin for you?
Well, I grew up in Adelaide, so just like Melbourne, Adelaide is pretty footy crazy. In schools you got 2 options: you got soccer or football during winter, and then basketball and cricket during summer. So I was a basketball, football kind of person, and I guess my first foray into the sport would be at lunchtime playing kick to kick.
Nice.
Probably the best thing in the world. When it's probably going to show my age here, but growing up, everyone wanted to be Tony Modra, doing screamers and coat hangers off people's backs.
Sorry, mate, we're of similar sort of vintages, so it's fine.
Oh, beautiful. Man of class, I see.
I was an 89 kid, so I was, just in time to see Geelong losing flags to your mob and the Hawks and a whole range of
senior.
So
he was a champion.
So we both got to see some absolute Jets in their prime.
Oh, mate, we had some absolute champions back then. And I think that was it. It was back then we just looked up to the footy players like they were superstars. They were just, jumping high, running fast. They were just built like a brick shithouse. Just really, really good role models to look up to. Now, I wasn't that great at footy. I was a terrible runner, but I was good at putting my body on the line. So that was my claim to fame. So just jumping on the ball.
Every team needs someone who's ready to just do the bash and crash, mate. So you played your role. You're playing it well before the AFL industry all became about playing your role and nothing more. So you're there at the tip of the spear. So good stuff, right?
Thank you very much. And yeah, my family was all into it. We all went for different teams, which is probably my competitive side. So I went for West Coast because I think at the time West Coast were amazing. I asked Dad, who's the best? And he said, well, I guess West Coast on the top of the ladder. I went, that's my team. Let's go. And then just kind of stuck with them. So
look, at least you're a bandwagon jumper from a very early age. You didn't climb on too late.
I picked one and I just went onto it.
Not like all those Golden State Warriors fans I've seen come out of the woodwork in the last 10 years or so that I don't think anyone's supported them, but all of a sudden everyone's a Steph Curry fan. So
yeah. Steph Curry's a beast.
He's an absolute jet. To be fair, we Steph Curry's awesome, but don't think I'd seen a Warriors jersey ever, and then suddenly they're everywhere. So
that's right. I think everyone had Bulls before because.
So yeah, I guess you said like everyone was kind of supporting different teams. So obviously you've just spoken about West Coast being their top of the ladder. Great, I'm going for them. But I guess what were some of the other influences around you? Did you have anyone trying to steer you towards particular clubs to support? What were some of the influences in the household? Considering you're an SA household as well.
Well, yeah, my dad also, a long line of jumping ship. He jumped onto Port as soon as they were a team back then. I think he was a Richmond before then.
Yeah, right.
So there was never any pressure to go for the Tigers. It was more he picked that one. And my brother he's a Mad Bombers fan, and he coaches school footy, so he's right into it. And then I think my sister goes for Carlton, and other sister goes for Richmond. So it's we got a bit of a rivalry in my family, so it's always good.
I guess what's it like though with so many people kind of heading in different directions in terms of their support when some of these clashes come, and whether it's in finals or just a typical round, is there much theatre within the family, or because everyone's kind of got their own allegiance and mostly different?
It is when you get down to the final teams in the finals. You sort of see people jumping on other teams. Whoever's in the finals, they probably don't want your team to win. It's the perfect sibling game. You just kind of, you're at odds with each other always. And yeah, growing up in Adelaide, I mean, Adelaide supporters everywhere. So one of my best and oldest mates is a mad Adelaide's fan, and really good at the footy. And so trying to keep up with him most of my life, and it was good.
And so I guess out of interest, you're obviously talking about your dad jumping from Richmond to Port once Port became an AFL level team. What was your observation of kind of what was going on in the state at that particular time? Because obviously we know, full well what the Sandful kind of Port Adelaide thing was. And, we hear about the bars and all those sort of things for years and years and years. And then obviously they finally got their own license and entered the AFL. Your old man jumped ship. You would have seen a lot of it across the state. What was it like as people are suddenly changing jerseys, click of a finger?
Yeah, I don't think Crows were doing particularly well at that time either. So it was the perfect time to introduce a new team. I think they were teal. They're still teal, but it was a very different color for AFL. And you saw a lot of teal and silver, jerseys around. A lot of people jumped on board, and I think they had a few wins straight after, which was pretty good.
Yeah, and then obviously everything culminated with 2004 and their first and I think only premiership so far at the AFL level. But it didn't take them all that long when you think about it. They were competitive from really early on. Even 2001, I think they were top of the ladder at that point, and it was basically 2-3 as well that they were right there. But finally cracking the premiership success in 2004. As a Geelong fan, again, finder's fee there because we kind of beat up Brisbane in the prelim and made it a bit easier for them. They probably also should thank the AFL for some dodgy stuff that they did to Brisbane through the finals, but
sure.
that's a whole other thing. And so yeah, I guess you're seeing kind of people changing jumpers left, right, and centre over there, or was it pretty instantaneous? Or
some people switch sides, and it really became like Adelaide's very kind of enclosed as a state, and to have your own showdown, it was pretty massive. The first few showdowns, you had the footy field was packed. I got to go to one of them, and yeah, it was just good fun. So it was instead of being, I think Adelaide was, rivals in their own minds to Victoria for a long time, and then they had their own rivals. So it just made the competition a lot better, having more teams. So.
Yeah, good. What about trying to engage with all things Eagles, given that they were in another state, so you wouldn't have been able to see them all that often?
No, but my brother, he lives in Western Australia now, and he sort of teaches down that way. He's the one that got me signed Nick Naitanui West Coast jersey, so I couldn't do that tonight, but my pride and joy. Managed to see a couple of games, and obviously when they're down, we were going to see them at the MCG. So
no, that's awesome. And so you get to see them from time to time, like even the current run of form, still can't miss them if they're in town.
That's it, eh? Like, well, I've got kids now, so unfortunately,
that does curb it a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I guess what were some of those early memories of the Eagles? We obviously touched on some early 90s premiership success there. They obviously then did it again through the early to mid 2000s as well. Those clashes with Sydney across back-to-back grand finals. And obviously even the team of those years, thinking about Cousins, Cox, Kerr, Judd, the team, and Embley, the team batted obviously incredibly deep through that period. What was it like to get to see a few premiership successes early days?
We've always been pretty up there in my knowledge of the West Coast. We've always sort of just missed out, or we've been in the Premier in the finals, or we've been in the grand final. I think I was in New Zealand at one stage when we took the away from Melbourne at that a few years ago. That was a great time in a pub. It's been great being a West Coast supporter. It's one of those things where it's like no one sort of hates you, so it's kind of like no one's really rival to you. They're just kind of like, oh yeah, West Coast, I don't mind if they win, that's all good.
The only people would say otherwise are Freo supporters, right? So
that's right, but no one really listens to them, so it's all right.
Fair enough. We'll stir some other rivalries with comments like that. But have you had the opportunity to go check out any of the grand finals that West Coast have been a part of? Whether it's those ones through the 2000s, whether it's 2018, 18. And I guess memories of, say, that Dom Sheed goal as well. How did days like that hit?
Yeah, no, unfortunately not. No, we've always just kind of made a big deal out of grand finals. So you get the pies out, you get the footy, and you get your family together, and you just have a barbecue and a few beers and kick the footy at halftime, and watch the halftime shows. Just good wholesome time growing up.
No, awesome to hear. And I guess there's been so many wonderful players to come through the Eagles, and we'll talk more about those again towards the end of the show. But some memories of, I guess, clashes with the Cats along the way. Given that we are a kind of Geelong-focused show here, I should probably indulge that a little bit. Any memories from some dealings with my mob over the years?
Look, I was a huge fan of Gary Ablett. He was a champion. I didn't really watch any Geelong really. That's fair. Kept to my own team really. When we played together, it was always a good match for sure. Yeah.
Look, I mean, I certainly, and it wasn't necessarily a good one for Geelong fans, but I remember I think it was 05, the year that we kind of fell off, where we got up by about, it must have been like 40, 50 points or something like that at halftime. We completely blew the Eagles away in a period where they were still dominant. Actually, no, it might have been 06. It would have been 06, kind of the year before we kind of finally took off. And you thought, okay, great. Like we're on track here. We're doing exactly what you want. This is amazing. The Cats are playing the sort of football that, they're doing this to a top 2 team, really. Here we go. We're on. And then suddenly the second half, Cousins, Kerr, the whole list, everyone just turned it on. And
talk about a beast, man. Cousins was absolute beast back in the day.
That midfield was terrifying
that was
to play against, but also so exciting to watch, even as a neutral. And I think about that when they were really all coming through. I think about 2003, 4, 5 when Judd was still kind of coming into his prime, but obviously he had this amazing army around him, and
we can claim
regardless
Judd,
of the fact that
he's ours, right?
Yeah, you still got to claim Judd. He won a Brownlow for you. He wouldn't.
Yeah.
Still wouldn't have been what he went on to be had it not been for his time at the Eagles, I'm sure. So
that's right.
And probably learned a few leadership things along the way, given some of the things he had to deal with over that time there during a bit of a rough but successful patch. It was so exciting to watch the Eagles through some of those finals campaigns, even the ones that didn't work out. It was unreal. I think I remember a tied semi-final with the Pies.
Yes. Yep.
That was 07, I think, which I really appreciated because the Pies were just that little bit more knackered for when they had to play us the following week, and we snuck over the line in the prelim.
Yeah.
But it was just it was incredible to watch the boys at that time, and yeah, I guess going forward to say 2018 and experiencing that, and I guess speaking of the Pies, being able to roll them in a grand final, to do it in such spectacular fashion with that Dom Shee goal. What was that day like? Especially considering a bit older at that point, and you've got so much more knowledge and experience with the game at that particular stage. How's glorious. That day stick out still?
Well, yeah, I remember the days just from the people around you. You know what I mean? You just sort of hang out with your mates. They're just really fun days. Every grand final is a good day, but especially when your team gets up. So and they're playing well. Yeah, it's great times.
That's awesome. And so I guess as we kind of touched on at the beginning of the show here, Danger Thumbs, it's a game development studio. You're working on Footy Bash. How does a love of AFL become video game development?
Oh, easy. It's basically when you what's the saying? When you can't do, you teach,
those who can't right? Do. Well, you're talking to a teacher, mate. So
make video games. So I mean, we've always wanted to, like I touched on, as a kid when playing kick to kick, you always want to, think that you can go do like a massive screamer, and you can run for miles, and you can kick really accurate from 60 meters. And as not always the case when you pick up a ball, but I tell you what, when you learn some programming skills and you've got an art side to yourself, you can make it happen. And I guess that's what I wanted to do was get all of the fun things that as a kid you loved about the game, and you wanted to see your Modras, your amazing players, your Judds, just absolutely dominate, and you wanted to be you. So and if I can make a game that makes people feel that way, then that's exactly what we want to try and do.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the likes of like AFL 99 on the PS1, for example, and just the ability to go, oh, all right, I'm going to be Gary Ablett here in the goal screen. He's going to kick 20 today. I'm going to make him kick 20 today. And like, I'm responsible for that. Like you feel like you're, in the game that little bit more, to quote EA. You're in the game that little bit there, and it feels like you're in control and doing something that you may not otherwise ever get the chance to do. It's really, really cool. How did Dan come into the picture? And I guess for context for people watching and listening to this, my more video game focused platform, Dev Diary, I spoke to Dan, I guess the other half of the incredible pair working on Danger Thumbs, working at Danger Thumbs. So people should absolutely go check out Dev Diary to kind of get Dan's perspective, and we're going to do a bit of a show flip in the future, and you'll both appear on the other platforms there. But yeah, how did you guys kind of come together? I know from speaking to Dan, kind of old friends going way back, but how did you come together to actually decide to work on a video game together?
Well, yeah, it's one of those things where we're both into programming, and we both worked for big companies, and we just always talked about making a game. It wasn't necessarily we didn't know which game we wanted to make, but we knew that we had the passion that we wanted to make a game. We sort of started talking and just trying to go back and seeing what what's missing, what games we loved, and it was really like NBA Hang Time was my favorite game growing up on the N64. And just wanted to recreate that kind of feeling of ridiculous dunks and just the ability to feel like you're good at sports,
like, even when you're not, right? Like going back to that point before,
yeah. And just the ability to wow and just to surprise and to delight. So we just got into it. I think I made a few tiny games, and then he got into doing his thing, and we just we went to a few PAX together. So before we showed at PAX, we were at PAX, and we played lots of games. So yeah.
What were some of these little ideas you worked on previously? I assume maybe not necessarily AFL related, but are these things that people can find out? Like, are they, I guess, putting the games media hat on, but like, are they things that people can find on Itch or anything like that? Are they available anywhere for people to check out?
No, I'm a huge video game nerd, like a massive one, and also a bit of a programming nerd. So I really am interested in how things are put together. So for the corporate life that we had, I was able to do a few things like Pac-Man and Street Fighter, just in little tiny micro areas of my job, and just they paid me for it, which was great. And then I just you get to learn and as you go, and now I'm doing it, and hopefully as a career, which would be lovely. And yeah, it's going great. So I think it's been a slow burn. I've always wanted to make video games, and then Dan always wanted to make video games, and we just
finally did it.
Finally did it. We just made a proof of concept, and really it came about very quickly. We got a call from PAX, and they were like, "Hey, we've heard about your company." I'm like, "I doubt it," but they thought we were someone else. So they sort of said, "Oh, well, we've given you a spot. Do you reckon you can have a game in time?" We're like, "Yeah, we basically ready." It wasn't at the time, but so we pulled it together, and we got there, which was when we met you. So with the 6 months down the track.
And so was it always going to be, I guess, like you've obviously had other ideas that you were kind of working on at different points, but when the two of you came together, was an AFL game instantly there as the idea, like we're going to come together and we're going to make an AFL game, or did even that take a little bit of time before you worked out exactly what the direction was going to be?
Well, we knew we wanted to make an AFL game, but we didn't know exactly how. Like we had ideas like a Sensible Soccer. I don't know if you ever played that one. It's like a 2D game, but in a footy type. And there is an Australian developer working on a similar one to that one. In Steam, you can find them. And
I forgot the name actually, but Dan mentioned it when I was chatting to him last week.
It's a sole developer. He's doing some good stuff. But yeah, so we went the other route of just let's make it ridiculous and fun and violent. And we went down that route, and it's just kind of come about now. So yeah, just everything just fallen into place.
And so taking an AFL game to a PAX, which again for people watching, listening, not necessarily familiar with the video game thing, it's basically Australia's biggest video game convention that we run. Thousands and thousands of people across 3 days coming in, but there's up to hundreds of different game development studios that are there. Lots of games being shown off, video games, tabletop games, like all sorts of stuff. The video games are the kind of the core product though. Yeah. Taking your game, Footy Bash, there, a game that's kind of rooted in sports. That's not necessarily, I guess, when we think about stereotypes, it's not necessarily the thing that would speak to a PAX audience typically.
You wouldn't think so.
But you attracted a fair crowd that basically wouldn't give you guys didn't have high expectations, is my understanding, and yet you were just back to back constant the entire time being pummeled by people.
I think we had like 400 games over the space of like 3 days, which was nuts. It was I think people, when they saw it, they could look past the fact that they didn't know AFL, they could get the gist. Like everyone kind of knows AFL, like we all grown up with it. And when you put in, like, the controls are pretty simple and you can pretty much spam punch button if you want to and get the ball. Yeah. It becomes fun for everyone. So
yeah, and I guess for anyone who's it absolutely did. Like for whatever reason, despite my games media stuff, maybe it just shows that I'm a bad games media person. But like I hadn't spotted the name come up until the day of the show, and I wandered in and I saw you guys set up there. And I was instantly taken by it. Now, again, I kind of, I guess, exist in this niche that is covering footy and covering video games at the same time. And so that naturally speaks to me on a great level there. But I was blown away by it at first there. And obviously, as you said, it was only a few months that you've been developing a game. And again, for people watching, listening, games can take, even smaller scale independent titles can take years in some cases for them to come together, let alone the big stuff that you might see from the biggest companies out there that have hundreds of millions of dollars piled into them, that can take even longer again. So to turn around what you guys turned around in months was insane, and it's so good to play. And yeah, it is very, I guess, arcadey at its core. There's that punching feature which absolutely gets a workout. I think every game that I've played or every game that I've watched, people are beating the stuffing out of each other. I guess in that development process, how did you guys conclude that you didn't want to get too simmy and you wanted to focus more on, I guess, some more ludicrous aspects of the game and overtly violent ones that definitely don't hold up when it comes to what the modern game looks like, but are really good and fun for a video game?
That's it. I mean, we play a lot of games. We play a ridiculous amount of games. So I think when we sort of thought about maybe doing a bit of an NBA Jam one, we played NBA Jam together for a bit. And really, when you get frustrated because the other person's winning, there's nothing better than the two-handed push that you can do with the turbo button.
Yeah,
and
mate.
just that feeling of, yeah, you've gone flying. We wanted to capture that one. And so it makes the games, especially when you kick a goal. I don't know if you ever punch someone after the siren. It's just a beautiful thing. If you're frustrated, that's where you want to be. So
yeah, I've got to make sure that I can throw a few hooks just as I kick a goal at the moment, because that's kind of thing I've not been able to enjoy so far, is that really smart ass sort of shove it in the face aspect after kicking a goal.
Well, that's the thing. You kicked a goal. As far as you're concerned, you're already winning, and so the other person can come back with a bit of a punch. But if you can get in there quick, you can really win the mental game that we do.
Yes, maybe some feedback for development is if in the case you kick a goal, maybe just freeze the opponent for a second, just lock them in place, but leave the person who kicked the goal active for a few seconds longer, just so they can walk over and swat them a few times.
We'll make you a special cheat code. Don't worry, man.
Not actual genuine feedback. That's bad feedback. But absolutely, it's a really fun one. Again, if people haven't checked it out, please make sure to do so, because it is a really, really cool, fun arcadey take on AFL. I guess iterating on the game over the months. What's it been now? Yeah, getting close, about a year.
Yeah, we're getting up to a year now, so it's very exciting.
I guess reworking the game and getting feedback from, genuine feedback, unlike that crap that I just gave you, from when you're at PAX or events like the Game Expo recently, when you've got hundreds of games being played like they were at PAX and many others coming to you at the Game Expo as well. How do you kind of pass through the experiences and the feedback that you're being provided to work out what is actually going to help the project improve, and not stuff that's a bit more like the shit that I just dished out a moment ago?
So the beautiful part is when you put someone in front of a computer, they're never going to play it the way you expect them to play it. So I don't know if Dan alluded to, but the office meta is getting so deep. We've got plays that we do. We've got it's pretty crazy. But when you get someone who just has learnt the buttons, they'll tell you everything you need to do. So we found we needed to coach them a lot on things they could do. So now we've got a tutorial section. We've got no one really understood the handballing, so we've got a section for that one, because you can do some amazing stuff with the handball. It's really just getting new people to play the game has just been unreal, and the feedback from footy fans are just like, hey, wouldn't it be great if this was in it? I'm like, yeah, give me that night I usually put it in. So it's been great seeing the newcomers and then the fans alike.
What about some of those ideas that they've been put to you and you've maybe tried to implement it that night, like you've spoken about, but then haven't quite worked? Is there anything that's gone in, but then has ultimately had to hit the cutting room floor?
Oh God, yeah.
Anything that you really regret not being able to kind of hold on to?
Well, the thing is, we never put down an idea. We just put it to the side. We've got a list of things that we know we need to do, and then sort of the ADD, energy comes in, and we go, hey, wouldn't it be great if we just put a pig on the field that had Plugger on the side of it, and just have them run around, or
Yes.
So I was like, I want to hit the umpires. I'm like, well, all right, well, we should be able to hit the umpires, but maybe the umpires hit you back, So, and then they're laid out, see what happens, because I don't want to promote umpire hate if they can't defend themselves. So a lot of that stuff we've implemented, and then we're like, look, we should really concentrate on the core game, which we will. So look, we want to give the game that we want everyone to play, and if there's any feedback that is something that you guys would enjoy, we're in a unique position where we can just go in there and implement it. So it's been great.
And I guess, the experience of actually getting, excluding the feedback part of it, obviously that's incredibly valuable, but maybe the feelings that it stirs up inside when you get to take a game to one of these events and put it in the hands of hundreds, thousands, and they're checking it out. I guess like that's your little piece of art. That's your baby you're putting out there for the world, and people are loving it. What is it like when you get opportunities like that?
Overwhelmed. Like we didn't give ourselves much of a shot. We kind of went to PAX on a whim, like hey, wouldn't it be good if we had like a proper deadline, and we went to PAX, we showed it off, and all of a sudden people were playing it. And not only people were coming back, people were like, where can we get this? We're like, all right, this is cool. I think many times when we had like 4 people deep of people watching these games, especially when someone would just absolutely pop off because they got a goal. It was just like, we just looked at each other going, this is just mental. You know what I mean? So we can't tell you exactly why it's worked, but we know this is the game we wanted to play, and it seems there's a bit of an appetite for it out there. So we're stoked.
were there ever any expectations that you'd be getting the reaction that you've gotten up to this point? And again, I guess for context people, the game is not out yet. So no. it's still all just pre-launch kind of hype and excitement at this point. But yeah, that feedback you've gotten, could you ever imagine that you were going to get those sorts of responses, let alone an event like PAX where, like we said, there's so many people there that don't necessarily fit the normal target demographic?
No,
but they're eating it up.
Flat out. No. We knew that we enjoyed the game, and we knew that like if we could just get people to play it, they might enjoy the game. And it was just very, very fortuitous that we had some absolute characters come and play the game and just absolutely pop off. And we got people looking and we go, oh, what's going on over there? And it's just one of those games where when you got 4 people and a liberal punch button, it can be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, lots of fun to be found with knocking people senseless, if not anything else. So as we record this, it's kind of mid to late April. How are we tracking in terms of timelines and those sort of things? And I don't want to put you in a compromised spot where you can't, there's certain things you will and won't want to say, and I'm not going to press you into that sort of space, but how are we tracking at this particular point in time?
Really good.
Good.
We haven't slept, and I've got 2 little ones, which means I just don't sleep anyway. But we're very confident in what we're doing. We've got the Next Fest coming out soon. So if you guys want to check out Next Fest, it's a Steam thing. If you got Steam, you can check out a game trailer, and we will hopefully have a demo up there very soon. Just putting it through the ringer right now to make sure it runs beautifully. And yeah, we're very, very stoked where we're at so far, and we're excited to get it into people's hands.
Yeah, I'll make sure with the show notes here that people can go and the link will be there. Go click on the link to the Steam listing, and you can go check out the game there, and wish listed all the sorts of things that all game developers want and need to see. Wish list the game, check out the trailer. The demo will be, there'll be a demo in time. Go check all that sort of stuff out. There'll be lots of opportunities for you to kind of see what this game's about if you've not had the opportunity to do so in any other platform up to this point, because it's shaping up incredibly well. I should also make sure. Yeah, sorry, go on.
I was going to say, come into Discord, have your say. If there's something that you want to see in the game, that if you've played it, if you saw us at PAX or at Games Expo, say hi. If there's something that you want to be included, like a core memory of yours, we'd love to add it. We're a small but very dedicated team. We just want to see people happy.
Is there anything that's number one on your list that you'd still like to see implemented in the game that maybe right now is kind of on that wait list, like you were talking about before? Is there something in particular that you just like, I need to find a way to implement this feature or
so whatever? For me, I'm doing mostly art, and I don't know if you met an artist, but I see the
I'm horrible
that we've had, and we've redone the graphics once before, but I'd love to have them done like just a little bit better. So I want to overhaul the entire animations and get some real some amazing marking animations in there, and really just get some proper speckies, maybe some mid-air collision speckies, just like some juicy things in the pipeline.
Bit of cheeky tunneling as well. We're at it.
Yes. So just shirt fronts left, right, and center. So it should be good. There are tons on our list, and we will be diligent and not be silly to go over so that you guys can at least play it before we talk about the next thing. But we got some exciting things on the list so far. So
yeah, it is one of those things, and I guess again for the kind of the footy audience that's watching, listening here, not as familiar with game development, one of the big challenges within that scene can be feature creep. And you obviously mentioned a few different things that you'd like to do, and a natural question for someone can be, well, why aren't you just doing it then? And there are these challenges about, you've got timelines you want to hit. There's certain resources you have at your disposal. There's plans for post-launch support and those sort of things. So how do you, outside of some things maybe just needing a little bit more time, how do you guys kind of decide what stays and what can maybe come later on, but is not a right now feature?
The beautiful part about how we work is it's always full of passion. So we always just at the moment, I don't know if Dan talked to you about any voiceover stuff that we got planned.
No, we didn't. I don't think we talked about that. No.
All right. We have this very amazing voice artist. I don't know if he wants me to mention his name, but he's incredible, and he's hitting some amazing marks that harken back to the NBA Jam era, sort of he's on fire type thing. So that's
so it's not Brian Taylor then, right?
No, that's my favorite feature so far. Was when we had that, we're like, all right, we have an exciting game on our hands. This is just brought a layer of authenticity to it that we just constantly surprised and stoked about. So yeah, that's my favorite one this month, but we're adding things all the time and just like little suggestions. So we got a lot of colorblind people. We're trying to add some there's a shocking amount of colorblindness out there. So we thought we definitely get them so they can play the game. We've got some people who are deaf who they just want to have some subtitles. Like, yeah, we can definitely add that in. We move really fast. So
I'm already thinking down the lines of your voice acting thing there, and I think about now that he's not necessarily tied up with Channel 7, I think, oh, Dennis Cometti, let's get him in to drop a few of those amazing lines. It'd be awesome.
The number's always open.
We'll just hit him up for a cameo at some point. Oh, he probably doesn't do cameo, but hit him up for one of those and then just go, look, mate, I'm going to give you $50 to record a few lines here. I'm going to use
an entire beer slab for you, my friend, if you want to jump in.
There you go, Dennis. You can drop a few centimeter perfects and some other ones that are absolutely far more crass that you would never have been able to utter while you were on Channel 7 back in the day.
That's the beautiful thing, because we're not sort of bound by anything. We can go pretty hard. So we're trying to try and find a nice balance there as well.
Which that leans into, I guess, the other thing. Like there's other games out there that have kind of worked more intimately with the AFL. Now you've obviously touched on the more crass side there. We obviously speak about the punching and those sort of things that probably, when it comes to the AFL, as in the governing body, they're probably not crazy about some of the things that are actually in game. So I guess it allows you to go very much rogue, like you said, and have that very independent sort of flair. Mm-hmm. Thoughts on, I guess, somehow Touchwood being able to work with the AFL on something here, because it's such a fun thing, and getting the game in front of, I mean, we've got a country of 27 million. Like, there's so many people this game could potentially reach, many of them with a love of AFL. How do we get this game in front of as many people as possible, with or without the AFL support? I think it is
going down to core values of being Australian. We're rough as guts, but we're lovable. So I think if we can make a game it's a little bit like that, we're going to be just fine. But again, if AFL ever wanted to talk to us, I mean, gosh, we're such a small fish, but we'd love to talk. I mean, always down for talk.
It'd be amazing. AFL people, if you're watching and listening, make sure to hit up Dan, hit up Barra, make sure that you give a little bit of love to this game, because it's going to be something really, really cool. Yeah. Mate, as we start to wind things down a little bit, as I said, I'll make sure that all of the Discords and the various other links, the Steam listing, are all available for people to check out in the show notes. So again, please make sure to do so. Is there anything else, I guess, while we're talking about the game here with the audience, that you wanted to make sure that you communicate about the game itself?
Look, we really need those wish lists. If you guys are keen on the game, we'd love you to check it out. We're going to be at PAX this year again, and we're going to have the demo coming out soon. So please keep an eye on it. Keep an eye on our socials. We'll let you know as soon as it's out. Please come play it. Let us know what you think.
Oh, that's awesome. Honing back in on some more footy, the actual AFL kind of focus stuff. You've obviously had the luxury of seeing some amazing players come through the Eagles lineup over the years. For you, who's that greatest Eagle of all time?
Oh man, I mean, Matera for the longest time was the GOAT, and then Nick Nat, I got to meet him. He's just an absolute gentleman. What an absolute champion he was, and yeah, just an absolute delight. Just some good players, really. It's West Coast, so we've no shortage of good players.
You've also had the opportunity, again, Geelong Focus show here, you've also had the opportunity to see the Cats do their thing for a while. You referenced Gary Ablett before. I guess in your eyes, as a neutral observer, who's the best Cat that you've ever seen?
I mean,
there's a couple Ablets. There's a whole range of awesome players that have come through. So
you guys have an amazing group of people. I've actually been down to Geelong. Geelong is beautiful. So you've got some very, as I said, my brother was coaching college football, so we went down there quite a bit. And so yeah, you guys got some amazing players. But unfortunately, no one comes to mind. But the Gablets yourself, he's the GOAT. So you got to
hard to go past them, right?
No.
I guess a little bit of perspective on the Eagles list. Obviously, we know that they are a developing team right now, and there's hopefully more success to come. But for those watching and listening now that maybe don't get to, especially because we are a Geelong focused channel, that don't necessarily study the Eagles list as much as say you would, and kind of study some of the goings on. Who's one that we perhaps need to keep an eye on that perhaps hasn't necessarily got the spotlight yet? Again, so much is said about Harley Reid, and he's now lifting. He's got his Rising Star nomination. He's fending off Dusty, which is, I think, there you go. That's ticked the box for him. But who else should we be keeping an eye out for?
I mean, Waterman did an amazing job. You've got yourself,
the new Wayne Carey, as everyone's been calling him.
Basically. Elliot Yeo, man, he's amazing. Always great to watch. He's getting old too. It's okay.
Yeah.
And we got some younger players. What's his name? It's Cripps and.
Oh yeah, Cripps and yeah.
He's good. Duggan's got some leadership stuff to work out, and we've got some good players on the rise. We've got a lot of young players. It's going to be great to see who becomes the superstars in the next generation of West Coast.
Yeah, they've got some good young players. We were talking about them. I appreciate, Reid, for example, as well. There's some wonderful young blokes coming through. So we already referenced it. Harley Reid used to support Geelong, so we'll happily take him back in a couple of years. Hopefully, don't stick too many zeros on the end of that contract. We want to be able to afford him. Welcome to Geelong, Harley. Yeah, exactly. We only want them once they're ready to go. Some kind of fun ones now as you wrap up. Schoolyard pick, and this is a Geelong folks one, but schoolyard pick. You're building your own team, and you've got Gary Ablett Senior and Gary Ablett Junior standing in front of you. Which one are you going to pick to start your team?
I think Gary Ablett Junior has really proved himself to be an amazing player. Geez, though, I'm still gonna have
to. It's a hard one, right? There's plenty of good reasons to go either way.
I've just seen more of his games in my lifetime than Junior, so yeah, I'm gonna have to say Senior. He's too iconic.
No, that's awesome. As we wrap things up, I alluded to it when I was chatting to Dan. We had a match during the game expo a couple of weeks ago. Just managed to get the chocolates. I put a little bit of mayo when I was talking to on Dev Diary about that. But I'm very much looking forward to having a rematch with you sometime in the near future. The game is coming up incredibly well. 4-quarter performance from the both of us, I would say there, and hopefully I pants you by 30 plus points.
We'll see. I'm gonna go serious.
Yeah, you're probably taking it incredibly easy on me that day. So
that's the thing. I wasn't. That's what makes it even worse.
Yeah. No, I haven't even seen half of your powers, I'm sure, something like that. But good luck with the development going forward. The game is coming up incredibly well in an amazingly short period of time. It's been a real treat to kind of see what you guys have been up to and to experience this game and the few iterations of it so far. It's been awesome. As I said to everyone before, check out the game. It is on Steam. The listing is in the show notes. Wish list it. Check it out for Steam Next Fest when that comes along in June.
That's great.
Socials, Discord, all the platforms there to see all things Danger Thumbs. Mate, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. Looking forward to chatting to you again for Dev Diary sometime in the near future. It'll be great. But thanks so much for sharing with our audience here on the Hoops Crew everything about the game and some stuff to come in the future.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, Paul.
If people want to see what you're up to, any social spots they could potentially go to see what you're specifically up to. We obviously touched on some Danger Thumb stuff, but anything for you?
Yeah, Danger Thumbs. We are 100% focused on this game right now. So dangerthumbs.com. You can talk to us in Discord. We're always in. We are just 24/7 on this when we're not being amazing dads. So
good.
We're all in the game right now.
No, that's awesome. Well, Cats fans, if you haven't already done so, please make sure to subscribe to the Hoops Crew. Check out the show on YouTube. Check out Behind the Play on podcast feeds as well. As I touched on before, Dan has been on Dev Diary recently. We're going to flip the script at some point. Dan will be coming on this show, and Barra will be jumping on Dev Diary in the future as well, so we can kind of get the whole video game and footy sort of landscape for both of the boys. It'll be amazing to get to chat to you again. I'm really looking forward to it. But Cats fans, yeah, check out all of the Danger Thumbs content. Check out all the Footy Bash stuff. Subscribe to the Hoops Crew stuff. Barra, again, thanks so much for coming on the show, mate.
Absolute pleasure.
Cats fans, remain Geelong strong, and I'll see you next time.